My brother-in-law, not my brother-in-law, but Shirley's sister, she was a Blaze, and she married a Young, Clarence Young. And they had two daughters, one daughter Kathleen, and one daughter, And Kathy was Shirley's sister's daughter. And she married John Brzett. And John was in the military. And he worked at CE, where it has this guy you're talking about flying. He was in CE too. He worked in CE, and he got assigned to Vietnam. Well, I knew John, and I knew Kathy. I had not got my assignment yet, but then I got it, and he's already in Saigon. He's there. And so we talked to Kathy. Kathy wrote him, and he said, well, just tell me when Ronnie's coming, and I'll meet him at the airplane. So, anyways, I went over, and my first assignment there was Cam Bay. And the government sometimes doesn't know what the right hand is doing from the left hand. We landed, and Cam Bay was closing up. It was just closing down. Cripes the NCO club wasn't even open. And so they put us up in an igloo up at the, what I want to say, not an igloo, well, temporary housing. Little cabin is what it amounts to. And we had a yang there that took care of us, our laundry and all. So we were there about 2 weeks. So we were delayed getting to Saigon. But we got a hold of John. John knew when we was coming, and he met us in the airplane. It wasn't a very good trip going from Cam Bay to Saigon. Tan Son Nhut is the name of the base. We went up in the 130. We had a bunch of dead bodies in the 130, flying them up to the morgue there. And wasn't too happy about that. And John met us in a staff car and took me to my hooch. That's what I want to say, hooch. And I lived in a hooch. At that time I was a master sergeant. And I had the inside track to be in the tanker unit there, because I was running a tanker unit here in the States. And so, but they didn't want somebody in tankers. They needed people in bombers, B-52Ds. Oh, you are on B-52Ds? You're going to the other side. You're going to what they called Hilltop. And so I went over there, and guess what? I'm on the B-52s that I was at in Limestone back in the 50s. You know? Same airplanes, but beat up and a lot of hours on them. And they had just bombed Hanoi and the SAM sites around Hanoi. They'd lost B-52s, but all G models. Why did they get to lose the new airplanes versus the old airplanes? Because the old airplanes had different electronics on them that could detect these missiles, and the G's didn't have them, had the same system on them. They were all detecting other SAMs when they're in the air or whatever. So anyways, the B-52s lost. Then of course there was some human stuff in it. I am told, and I've read several articles on it, from gunners, B-52 gunners, and tanker people, and they say that The first night they went into the Bob Hanoi was good. The second night they went into Bob, they went the same identical track they went in the first night. And they were ready for them. And they lost airplanes and lost crew. See, that's a human error. No way you should go in the same way the second night. You come from different ways, different altitudes, different everything. And of course, their SAMs were all geared to get them, and they got them. But they didn't get the D models because these. And one of the airplanes that they got was at Utapao. When I got there, that airplane was still on deck there. It shot up pretty bad. But the crew got back. But the airplane never fly again. And I watched that airplane being disassembled. And I watched it being towed by a Toyota pickup truck out the main gate of the base, going to the junkyard. But you know, at night, the sappers will come into the airfield, and these are guys with trying to destroy equipment or people with bombs that are planted into the ground, and I think IEDs or something you call them, that blow off your legs and arms and stuff and kill you. And they would come in at night and do that stuff. And then a lot of times in the daytime, the bodies would be laying around yet. They hadn't picked them up yet, you know. We had pretty good security. But at night, it was like going back to war again. Oh, the first night I was there, John Brissett was there, my nephew. And he came over to my hooch and said, let's go to the NCO club and have a drink. He always called me Ronnie. Everybody else called me Stan. My military career, they called me Stan. And but he called me Ronnie. He still does this day. But we went over to the NCO club and sat down and had a couple of drinks, and he's welcoming me there and buying me a drink and so on and so forth. And then the whistle went off, the alarm, that there was incoming rockets, and to leave the area, seek shelter. And we noticed that there wasn't too many people leaving. The people were staying at their tables. And I said to John, are we supposed to leave? And he said, well, they'd like you to leave, but he said, those people there, and I guess me too, he said, we are a company that we know what's going on and what's happening, and these are not guided missiles. They're just land to land, shoot it up in the air and hope it lands in the right place. And so he said, it may hit here, it may not. It's a gamble. So I said, well, he said, let's get another drink. So we got another drink, and we ended up working out the other drink, and he said, everybody will leave. You're leaving. So the rocket hit near the NCO club in the hospital. Didn't hurt anybody. Open ground. And we got underneath the table when they hit. Underneath the tank where we were drinking, we got underneath the table. And the other people that were there, they got underneath the table too. But everybody seemed to still be drinking and having a good time. And then about that time, not shortly after that, we were told to leave the premises, or we'll force you out. And so we left, and we didn't have to be forced out. Went back to our hooches, and that was the end of that. Nobody was hurt. And I don't think, probably, that my tour there, in the 4 months I was there, that I ever went back to the NCO club again. I don't think I ever went back there again. First of all, probably too tired. You know, once you got to work, and you're working long 16-hour days, that, you know, it just takes every bit of your, when you're 40 years old, that ain't you anymore, you know. There was younger guys there, thank God. And But they were probably as tired as I was because they come back and then they go party in downtown or whatever. And I just too tired. I couldn't go. And then when I was coming back, I was assigned to Rome Air Force Base in Rome, New York. B-52Gs. I knew some of the people there. I know the chief there that was running the flight line there. But when I got back here, my stepfather, Morris Moss, he was diagnosed as terminal cancer and was dying and not very long to live. Well, I said, you know something? I've been in the service for over 20-something years. And I said, I ain't about to leave now. And I said, I'm asking as a favor. I said, I'd like to be transferred to Plattsburgh, to the tanker unit there, which I have run myself there, and get a compassionate transfer. Just like that. They transferred me from Rome before you unpacked my bags while I was on leave, right here to my house. And I finished up here, that was 1974. I think November, I think in 1974. And I retired in last month in July of 1980.